after I had Hayden, I just enjoyed that moment. And then I got kind of frustrated and mad, and I was like, looking back at everything, just going through infertility is enough. Now the financial burden, I'm like, what can I do? Like, I have this medical background. I like to be active and involved. What can I do?
Hello and welcome to the Inspired Woman Podcast. I'm Marcy Narum. This podcast is dedicated to impacting a multitude of women with its mission to celebrate, encourage, empower, educate, entertain, and connect women. Well, we're already having fun today with Tara Bradner from Ashley, who is here to talk about a serious topic, but we're having fun.
Yes,
and
this is fun.
So you're in town in Bismarck today. Came up special for this, but
Yes.
You've got some things planned while you're here.
Yes, just me day. Take
Yeah.
care of me. You had to rejuvenate and
Yeah. What do you have planned?
get a massage, go shopping, have lunch with some old friends I don't see much anymore. Ashley's not that far. I mean, 2 hours, I'm used to it, but you like to keep close touch with friends and meet up with them when you're in town.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Ashley's home?
Ashley's home. Yep. Don't know if in May when I graduated in 2004, if I would have thought I'd be moving back there, but life takes you direction sometimes, and I love it. I absolutely love being home.
Yeah. So tell me about home and family and life.
Home, yep. So I was born and raised in Ashley and graduated, went to the University of Mary, lived in Bismarck for 10 years, worked as a nurse up here, and decided I was going to become a nurse practitioner. And so I got my master's, got my doctorate degree, and things kind of panned out. Discussions were had, if we're going to have a family, where do we want to be? And home kind of hit a bell. So I called and I said, hey, you guys looking for a nurse practitioner? And of course they welcomed me with open arms, and we moved back there. And I think it was in 2014. My husband was a teacher in Bismarck for 9 years. And so that was kind of hard he loved being up here. And but the decision was made and we went back there, and he's teaching down in Ashley and Wishick. He's actually in Wishick teaching now. So loves it. Everything's good down there.
Good. And so the topic that we're talking about today is infertility.
Yes, infertility. One word I don't think anybody ever thinks is going to be them or become part of them, but it happens. And it happened to us. Yeah.
So tell me your story.
So my story, I always say, it goes back to even before I met my husband. I was in college and I was having some issues, and I went in, and it led to a non-invasive surgery, but surgery nonetheless. And they found stage 2 endometriosis. And okay, you fix it? Great, thanks. And they're like, well, you may have, some issues with when you get pregnant someday, but you should be fine. Just come back to us if that ever happens. And I carried on with life, never thought about it again, and met my husband, got married, decided at that point, I guess, that I'd get my master's and doctorate, and did that, and we focused on that. And okay, I'm done with school now. Let's start a family. You think it's just gonna now it's gonna happen. Let's just do what everybody else does,
right?
and start a family. And 3 months goes by, 6 months goes by. We experienced a miscarriage in there on our own. So that's a whole other dynamic that actually is fairly common. I just heard a new statistic today. 15% of pregnancies end in miscarriage before 20 weeks. And I was like, okay. And I see, celebrities more so is where you see them opening up more, and they want to raise awareness on that even. And okay, go back to trying again on our own, and 9 months goes by, and I'm like, okay, as a medical person, you get kind of like, oh, you're overthinking this, or are you underthinking this? And I'm going to go make contact with my OBGYN, and we talked, and we did some testing, and she's like, okay, we're giving you 1 more month, and if nothing, we're sending you on to reproductive endocrinology. And that month went by, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go 1 more month, it's nothing. And here you're at almost a year, And so we found ourselves at reproductive endocrinology in Fargo, actually, and living in Ashley. So there's, travel involved. And at that time, very quiet about it. I mean, I don't know if 5 friends knew. I worked in my hometown as the medical provider, of Ashley and the surrounding area. And so, oof.
And why was that? You
I
wanted
think
to stay quiet.
the stigma was projected onto me. Like, we don't talk about miscarriage. We don't talk about the reproductive system, in general, out loud. Like, we talk about my diabetes is out of control, or, or even the other sensitive side of cancer. People are more open about that and find support within that. But when it comes to the reproductive system, we don't talk about that. So I work in a clinic of 6 people, and I was quiet there. But as I started to have to go to more doctor's appointments, come to find out here, someone within my clinic was going through it too. And we both were silent about it. And once we opened up to each other, we found so much support just between the 2 of us within that too. So we headed to Fargo, we did 3, we did medicated cycle number 1, got a bill. I'm going, woo, why is this so much? There must have been a mistake with insurance here, Come to find out there is no insurance coverage.
Can you tell me how much?
So that one round, it was lab work, couple ultrasounds, medication was $1,200 just for that. Not considering, travel and all that, which, you expect that when you live in a rural area,
Sure.
It's just part of it. But lab coverage is not covered. Ultrasound's not covered. I found myself going to my local pharmacy saying, okay, I know as a medical provider, can you give me a little break? I'm out of pocket on this. Is there a little bit of break? Yep, we can do the out of pocket, cost for that. Okay, whatever, we'll pay for this. Continue on. It didn't work. Okay, well, we know that was $1,200. What's next? And so I moved on to IUI, which is intrauterine insemination. It's about $1,500 that time, not much more. But once again, paying out of pocket for lab work, medications, all of that completely out of pocket, simply because my provider had put the infertility diagnosis on my chart. That is what started the out of pocket expense with everything.
Oh.
And so we did 3 rounds in Fargo. And said, you know what, we need a break. Like, this is exhausting mentally, spiritually, financially, physically, let's take a break and let's just regroup. So at that point, I had got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, actually professionally, through the American Association of Nurse Practitioners. I was accepted as a health policy fellow. So I went to DC for a month and was involved with policy and politics out there, learning the ropes, being a voice for nurse practitioners actually on a federal level. So
wow.
Yeah, that was really fun. And it was one of those blessings in disguise, right timing type of thing. And it was wonderful. I mean, I wouldn't change that. That was, I could go on and on about that too, but little did I know how that would project my personal future and endeavors too. So I did that, and I came back and I said, what do we do next? And we had a family friend actually, from Ashley. He is an embryologist in Colorado, actually. He's from Ashley, born and raised, and he helped open CCRM in Colorado. He's one of the top embryologists, actually, in the nation. But sat and had a nice private personal talk in Ashley, opened up about it. My mom's like, you know what? I went to high school with this guy.
Yeah.
You should have a talk with him. And so I had this wonderful talk with him, and my husband and I sat and talked again. And we're like, oh my gosh, let's just breathe a little bit longer. I am not sure. And in the meantime, you're still trying to have a baby on your own, just relax, they say. And it's, please, people. Yeah, don't tell people to relax. It'll happen. That's my big, just be supportive. Say, I'm sorry, say a prayer for them, more things like that. Just relaxing.
Okay.
And no, we try to relax, and all of that. And so long story short, I guess we ended up doing in vitro fertilization. And then more discovery was made at that point. Now your endometriosis is what is affecting this. And, at this point we've looked, and IVF is your answer. I think one of your only answers to having a baby. And I did some shots and medications for endometriosis in between there with my doctor in Colorado. And we transferred our one and only embryo, and he was born January 9th, 2018.
Yay.
Yeah,
Oh.
Hayden Michael is his name, and he's wonderful and a blessing.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, he is. And I get emotional, of course, thinking about it all, but once again, out of pocket. So I think a lot of that leeway too, and that in-between time was going, we got to financially save for this. And how do we do that? I mean, we wanted a family. And I think some people, you get into a point where you will do anything. And there's people, refinancing homes and going into credit card debt, selling their favorite Harley, and the family they're getting money from family. And it's just, that hurt me. I heard more. And as we went through it, we opened up more. And of course, here I am sitting with you now, just being the word, for people who are still suffering in silence. And it doesn't leave you. It doesn't leave you ever. Even when you're holding that baby, infertility doesn't leave you.
How common, as you've talked about it and you open up, is it more me too?
Yes. And that was, I get goosebumps when I think about it. There's so many friends even that are like, you kind of sit and you maybe wonder about people. You're like, they've been married now a few years. Do they want kids? And, when I started opening up, even about miscarriage, it was me too. I've had that too, and you form a little bond with maybe a little bit closer connection. When I first started right away, I went to Instagram. And there's a whole world of infertility, male, female out there too. And when I didn't know my coworker was going through it, I found connections with girls that I had never met. Some live in Minnesota, some live in Florida, live all over, but they understand. And so you can form that with them too. You have that go-to person that just gets it, at that level, that just gets it.
And that's so helpful, isn't it?
Yes. Like
they speak your language.
They speak your language. Yes. And they get those weird thoughts or feelings that you might be going through that someone who's never went through, and they just don't know, how to respond to you or what is the right thing to say. My own family was even kind of uncomfortable about it right away because you just don't know. And it's a simple hug even, but yeah. And then going through, after I had Hayden, I just enjoyed that moment. And then I got kind of frustrated and mad. And I was like, looking back at everything, just going through infertility is enough. Now the financial burden, I'm like, what can I do? Like, I have this medical background. I like to be active and involved. What can I do? So I got involved with Resolve, a national infertility organization, and said, what can I do? And they're like, well, what's your background? What do you enjoy doing? We see you're a nurse practitioner. And I was like, well, I kind of just got into health policy as a nurse practitioner because I was frustrated with some laws and regulations that nurse practitioners had. And they're like, we have an idea for you. Would you be interested in pursuing a bill in North Dakota to help make insurance coverage mandatory for infertility care and cancer preservation? That's a whole side piece with it too. And I was like, ooh, do you help with that? Because I know I've done health policy stuff, but this is like a constituent. I have a concern. Where do I start? How do I get a bill? Where do I even start with that? And so from there, I just made a Facebook page, Beating the Infertility Stigma North Dakota, just to raise awareness. And it stemmed from there. And that's where the whole world of, hey, thank you for doing this. This gives me a voice. How can I share my voice? Some that are willing to, or let's speak for those who are still in that hard rut of it all. And they can't even breathe to their own family to say, I have this medical diagnosis, which it is a medical diagnosis. The World Health Organization recognizes it. The Obstetrics Association and everyone recognizes it. It is a medical diagnosis, yet there's no insurance coverage. There's no coverage once you get that diagnosis.
Yeah. So your Facebook page continues to grow.
Yes.
How many people are?
I think I look 370, which is small, but I'm still just kind of one person. I have a friend who's like a guru with social media. I'm like, hey, can you help me? So she kind of helps me here and there with stuff, but I'm just one person behind it, and we're looking for ways just to raise awareness in North Dakota with infertility.
And so you did take a bill to the legislature.
Yes, we did. Senate Bill 2233. Yes. So I sit here and I was laughing this morning on my way up here. I'm like, where did I even start with this thing? But I reached out to the reproductive doctors in Fargo, and they were so helpful. And they're like, hey, we dealt with something once before. Go talk to this legislator. So I'd email and call, and I had a list of 14 people, different legislators. And through them, I found one legislator from Jamestown, and he was the first to use surrogacy in the state of North Dakota in 1988, I think it was. He was just, let's do this. Yes. And I was like, oh, okay, yay, like, here we go. Now what? Yeah.
It was a heck yeah,
yes,
right?
It was a heck yeah. So Senator Grabinger is his name from Jamestown, and he was wonderful. And all the sponsors were wonderful. And through that list of 14, they all had been affected by infertility. That's how I got their name. It was like, hey, you might want to talk to. I think they had been through it. So whether their family, someone they know, or them themselves were affected by infertility, that's how I got to them. And I remember one point during session, I had a legislator come to me and goes, I just had breakfast this morning, table of 5 of us, and 3 of the 5, he's like, I think your statistics are wrong. He's like, I think it's more than 1 in 8. That's the national average, is 1 in 8 is affected by infertility, which is Resolve gave me 14,000 North Dakotans average. Okay. But he's like, I think you're off. I think there's more people that are dealing with this than we even know. And I said, you're right, there is, because people aren't jumping to go seek help for it, and they're quiet about it. And he's like, you need to look into this more. If it doesn't go through this session, you need to be back and come back. And so unfortunately it did fail. We had a great army behind us, though. It was a great awareness just within legislation this year, and just to get the word out there, and my Facebook page and all that, going to. And so we're going to start, I just got the phone this week actually with Resolve. We're going to start a walk of hope for awareness, and kind of keep it going in between sessions now, and keep things moving forward.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, even though we didn't, our bill didn't go the way we wanted, I still think we had a positive impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's beating infertility.
Beating the infertility stigma in North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yes.
That's the page.
Yes.
And is there a website? Just Facebook?
Just Facebook.
Okay.
Yep. And we just kind of use Resolve as our in others for sources and stuff. And then on Instagram, I think it's TMBDNP_IVF. Okay. And so I try to just post encouraging things on the page, and I have, I follow and have a following. That's where my infertility path, kind of my support was at that time. Okay. So,
well, I want to talk a little bit about the cancer, the preservation piece.
Yes, that's a whole important thing. So currently what happens is there's a lot of young people diagnosed with cancer in North Dakota. This is just, and I wasn't aware of how common it is on a weekly basis in North Dakota, but you get diagnosed with cancer and you want to preserve your fertility, whether that's sperm or eggs, and it's out of pocket. And you have a short time frame where you have to make that decision before you start chemo, radiation, or oral medications for cancer. Like, ooh, what do we do?
Because of the chemo.
Because of the chemo, yep, or even radiation or medication, it will affect your ability to not only carry a child in the future, but to even have eggs or sperm available to have a child once you're completed with treatment. And so that, I think, was my big heartbreak. It's like, we have people that are being diagnosed with cancer at a young age and want to have a family someday, and don't have the money available to them to pay for this out of pocket when you're hit with that cancer diagnosis, and just have to go through a treatment and may never have a family in the future of their own.
Right.
And so I met a lot of cancer survivors through this, and they testified with me, and that was a whole other heart-wrenching thing that happened from all of this too.
And just thinking about that's 2 lives, or at least 2 lives. You're thinking about the individual's life.
Yes.
They're going through chemotherapy
Yes.
because they want to continue to live.
Yes, exactly.
But they're also wanting to bring another life
Right.
into the world.
Exactly. And that's taken away from them, if they don't go through with it, and that split decision to. And I know I spoke with the reproductive doctors in Fargo, and they're wonderful. And they're like, they see people weekly for this, 15-year-olds, 25-year-olds, and they have to make that decision to go through with that or not. And the cost, it ranges, for a situation like that, it's probably $10,000 to $15,000 out of pocket they would have to put forward at that moment to go through with it. So it's, on top of now I have chemo and radiation and deductibles. So it's hard. It was hard. That was a hard thing for me as a medical provider and a patient, and want to help them now. And now we have to wait 2 more years, and in the world of reproductive, 2 years is a long time now that I have to sit here. I just said that the other day to someone. I was like, okay, I know I'm impatient with things naturally, but this hurts. I have to sit here for 2 years and know there's families that are gonna have to sit and wait and put off family building or refinance their home or go in credit card debt just to have a family. And some would say it's elective. I would argue that. It's not elective. It's a right, There's a lot of things. Let me go down the rabbit hole in the medical field, knee replacements, hip replacements, hernia surgeries, cataracts. That's all considered elective too. So you have to be careful when you pin infertility as elective. Infertility could be as simple as lab work, ultrasound, and medications. Solved. Problem solved. You have a baby. It can be as simple as that, or it can be as hard as IVF. It ranges greatly. None of that is covered. So that was my what? I see so many things covered daily that I have, and so I sat there and I was like, nope, I have to do something. I have got to do something. So
From being quiet about
yes,
it
a quiet mouse in Ashley, suffering in silence in my own office of 6 close. We were close. I call us little family at my clinic, but no, I didn't say anything. It was a projected stigma that was, we just don't talk about that. We don't talk about miscarriage or infertility or reproductive health.
Are you pretty confident that this can happen?
I am. Oh, yes. In fact, New York just passed it last week. New Hampshire's real close to passing it. I remember watching the Senate floor discussion on it, and it was said, let's just see what some other states do over the next 2 years. Well, we have 2 states already that are moving forward with this. There's 15 already. There was some misunderstanding. There's 15 states that have infertility laws already. Now New York and New Hampshire soon on the way. But our bill was drafted just like theirs, with some small changes to fit North Dakota, but it wasn't built. It was used from what other states are doing and seen has worked, and so it was. I'm like,
Yeah.
we did the work for you, kind of. That's what everyone else is doing, and it's working, and there's good statistics coming from insurance companies from other states and everything. So let's not reinvent the wheel. Here's what's being done and working, and
Sure.
so
And does it cover those things that you mentioned, like lab work? And,
yes. Yep, it does. The second infertility gets put on, or cancer preservation gets put on your chart,
okay.
insurance comes in and helps at that point.
Deductibles?
Yep. There's a separate deductible usually of $500 for infertility, but the other argument that goes along with that is there's some plans that have 20,000 lifetime attached to it, and there's very few. Stanford doesn't even offer that to their employees. It's a very, very small number. And that 20,000 is from 18, 20 years ago. I talked to some 4th grade teachers of mine, some people who opened up about it more, the more I got going with it. And they're like, I had that same amount 20 years ago. My kid is, 20, 18 now, and I had that. So that number hasn't been changed, yet healthcare continues to rise in cost. So I'm like, okay, let's just change that number then and offer it to more people. If you want to still hold back, you're a little hesitant, let's just up that number and just offer it to more people. And no, that didn't work either. So, but little do they know, I don't give up. I'll be back. Tara Bradner does not let down that easy.
Well, saying your name, Tara Bradner, reminds me of your maiden name.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
It kind of relates.
Yes,
You'll be
it
back.
does.
You
Yes.
should go back to your maiden
Yeah,
name.
I know for this. Yes, I should. Over the next few years, Chuck, I'm going to go back and add my maiden name in. So yeah, my maiden name is Phi. So my name was Terrify. And I was just saying earlier how I use that as a slogan at Girl State. Don't be terrified. Vote for Terrify. So yeah, I think I might have to bring that back for all of this.
Did you say it that way? Like
I did.
You said, I'm terrified.
Yeah. And I remember my mom told me when I was born, they were like, did you think about that before? And they're like, yeah, we're not worried about, she's going to get made fun of. They're like, we'll worry about it then if it happens. And it didn't. Like, I remember the older kids in high school, they're like, hey, terrifying. How it was like a thing. It was a fun thing that was just used. And yeah, it's stuck. In fact, my in-laws, they don't call me Tara. They're like, hey, Terrify or hey, Phi. Like that's like my nickname still with people. So it's fun. And
Well, I can tell you have fun with life.
Yes.
And with your name. And
yeah, I try, it's one of those things where looking back now, it's sometimes you just, you can be in that moment and you can feel the hurt and the pain, but I'm going to take that and I'm going to turn it around, hopefully to something positive and helping so many more people that are in that hurt and pain.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you are willing to share this story because, it's going to reach somebody else
Yes,
who maybe
I hope so.
has been silent.
Yes.
And doesn't know that there is a way to connect with somebody else.
Yes.
And that there is this support that's happening.
There is.
Inspired Woman magazine has a tagline that we've been using for the last few years. She believed she could, so she did.
I got goosebumps.
And so how does that phrase apply to you in your life at any time?
So funny. My mom actually just bought me a sign 5 years ago, and I have it hanging in my. It's funny you said that, 'cause I knew that, but I didn't know that. Hanging above my desk downstairs, so I can look at it. And getting into nursing school was not easy for me. Getting into my master's program, I got a no before I got a yes, and so I've been on my knees and crying, "Why God, why?" before. So when this kind of hit me, I was like, okay. I know in my faith, there's a deeper reason and a why to this. I may not know now, but I'm going to use this hurt and I'm going to keep pushing through and I'm going to help others with it. And so it's not been my first no in life. I've seen this before and had many, and I'll have many more no's, knock on my door. But what can we learn from this? And what can I do with this? So being in healthcare field, it's natural. I want to help others. And so I sat and thought, how can I help more people than just the ones I know or that I know are going through it? And so I'm going to do more with this. And so that's where the Facebook page also came from too. I was like, I don't know where this bill thing's going to go, but hey, someone who's crafty and creative, let's make a picture. What can be our picture for this page and what can we do with this? And I still don't know exactly what I can do with it. I'm sure there's so much more, but my gurus of social media will help me with that. But I just see there's so much more and opening up and more people. I mean, Michelle Obama was opening up about her struggle with IVF recently, and all these other celebrities who are in silence too are opening up. So I thought, locally in your small town communities, who else is suffering in silence? And it's not just infertility either. What other illness or disease is there that people are just suffering in silence and going through hurt daily? And how can we help those people? So, yeah. And when she believes she could, I don't take on something that I don't feel 100% with. Like, I either give something my all or I say, no, thank you, I'm sorry. So for me to take this on, I think it's just one of the, I know I can do this. I know it'll happen. Whether it's 10 years from now, they're going to get real sick of seeing me at the Capitol, but I'll be there. And, hey, it's me again. I will continue to educate and make awareness of this, and I will keep trying. And hopefully it happens at a national level. There is bills national for this too, but either way, I will not. Yeah, I won't give up. And even if it's just raising simple awareness in the meantime, that's okay, and that's enough too. So, yeah.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tara. Thanks
Yes,
for-
thank you so much for having me and letting me speak about this.
Wonderful. Thanks. The Inspired Woman podcast is sponsored by Quantum Productions, the home of the award-winning director and cinematographer Nolan Johnson. He creates unique high-end video products throughout the Midwest. You can check him out at quantumprond.com.